Hare Krishna devotees, welcome all to the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are starting the new canto, fifth canto, and we'd like to hear from His Grace Haridev Krishna Prabhu. So Prabhuji, over to you. I'll make you the. You want me to share, Prabhuji?
I'll share, Prabhuji. You can
Okay,
just give me
Prabhuji.
permission. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I'll give Prabhuji.
We start with prayers.
Yes,
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopa kumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Hare Krishna. I would like to seek the blessings of all the devotees before we begin the fifth canto. So we'll just give a summary. Before that, maybe we'll offer the entire prayers and then we'll start discussion. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-Jana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pralayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauravatvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Sri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Vyasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So again I would like to seek the blessings of all the devotees before we begin this speaking on this fifth canto. So we know that Srimad Bhagavatam has these 10 topics. I'll just share that screen. The 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the famous shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 10th chapter, first shloka, which says, what are the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam? Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utayaha manvantare shanu kata nirodho mukti rashrayah. So the 10 topics that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam is Sarga. Sarga means the universal creation by the Supreme Lord. This is called the primary creation. Even before Lord Brahma is born, all the Mahat Tattva is being activated. The entire, in the third canto, we saw before the creation of Brahma. That means in the chapters 13, 14, all of them. I'll bring that up also. So here. This one. Chapter this part, creation of time from the atom, all this. So here we have a lot of discussion about the primary creation. What is how time is created, how the atoms are created, all that. So this is the primary creation. Then Visarga means the secondary creation by Lord Brahma. Sthanam. Sthanam is positioning of living entities in various planetary systems. And Poshanam is the Lord's protection for the devotees. Uti means inclination to act. And then Manvantara, the reign of Manus. Ishanukata, the topics relating to Lord's incarnation and his devotees. And Nirodha means annihilation of the material body as well as the universe, everything. And then Mukti, liberation, and Ashraya, the supreme shelter. And although these topics are spread throughout the Bhagavatam, each of these topics are more vividly described in specific cantos. Like in the third and fourth canto, mainly describes the Sarga and Visarga through the conversation of Vidura and Maitreya. Like that. And fourth canto also begins with the description of the descendants of Swayambhu Manu, and it continues on till the eighth canto. And in the eighth canto, descriptions of other Manus are also there. And the fifth canto, it is said, just like the first and second canto represent the feet of the Lord, the lotus feet. The third and fourth canto represent the thighs of the Lord. And the fifth canto represents the navel of the Lord. So the fifth canto corresponds to the lotus navel. And in this canto, in the third canto, the descendants of Swayambhu Manu, Swayambhu Manu's daughters, Devahuti, Prasuti, Akuti, all of them, they are the three daughters. Description of Devahuti was elaborately done in the third canto, and Kapila Dev, all that. And then fourth canto began with description of Prasuti, then small description of Akuti also is there. And then the shift was towards the sons of Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu had two sons, Uttanapada and Priyavrat. Priyavrat was the elder son, Uttanapada the younger one. And description about Uttanapad was given there because Priyavrat, although was the elder one, was more interested in renunciation. So he did not take up the kingly rule. And Uttanapad's descendants are Dhruva Maharaj and then Anga, Vena, all that, Prithu Maharaj, all that dynasty, the description was there in the fourth canto. And when finally, as the generations progressed, in one of the generations when there was no progeny, so then when it was not possible for them to carry on the ruling of this one due to lack of any next heir, so that time Swayambhu Manu is actually requesting Priyavrat, the elder son, who has been practicing renunciation for all these years, to please come up and take the responsibility of ruling the kingdom. So that is where the fifth canto actually begins. In this fifth canto, what all are we going to see? Shukadev Goswami continues the topics of Visarga and describes the dynasty of Priyavrat, the other son of Manu. And in Priyavrat's dynasty, several notable personalities like Agnidhara, Nabi, Rishabhadeva, and Bharata, and his three lives as a king, Deer, and Jadabharat, all these are there. So and the latter half of this canto discusses Sthanam. Sthanam means the position of various living entities in different planetary systems. So this canto, we can say there is description of Visarga. There is also a description of the Manvantara and Ishanukata also, and Poshanam also. Poshanam, these are all constant themes, how the Lord is protecting. But mainly, the latter part of the canto describes Sthanam. That means positioning of the living entities in various planetary systems. And the canto concludes with a description of the various hellish planetary systems. So like that, if you look at the flow of the entire canto, until chapter 13, it is all description of Priyavrat's dynasty. Then there is a shift. Again, the forest of material enjoyment, then glories of descendants, and then the description of Jambudvipa and all the other. There's a lot of description of Jambudvipa. Then the chapter 20 is the structure of the universe, then movement of sun, orbit of planets, all of them, and then the other subterranean heavenly planets, Shishumara planetary systems, hellish planetary systems, etc. So therefore, the latter part mainly deals with the sthanam, or the position of living entities in various planetary systems. Like that. And Prabhupada, in the summary of this chapter, in summary of chapter 1, says this entire chapter 1 of the 5th canto, mainly describes how King Priyavrat enjoyed royal opulence and majesty, and then returned to full knowledge. So although for a temporary time being, it may have seen that he was caught up in so many entanglements, but he never lost his focus on the lotus feet of Lord. And finally, he returned to full knowledge and became gradually detached from all worldly opulence. Initially, he was detached from worldly opulence. Then he became attached to his kingdom. But finally, again, he became detached from material enjoyment and thus achieved liberation. So, King Parikshit, this canto, first chapter begins with the question of Parikshit Maharaj, because in the 4th canto, towards the end, there is one shloka which is the connecting link for this chapter. In chapter 31, towards the end, Narada just towards the end, it is mentioned here that Shukadev Goswami continued, "Oh, best of the kings, I have now finished telling about the descendants of Swayambhu Manu. And then I shall now relate the activities of the descendants of Priyavrat." Okay. Oh, here it is said, Uttanapad is the first son, Swayambhu Manu is the second. Please hear them attentively. And then this is the connecting link. Although Maharaj Priyavrat received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the planet Earth. After enjoying fully material possessions, he divided his property amongst the sons. He then attained a position which he could, by which he could return home back to Godhead. So this shloka, it is said that although Narada instructed Priyavrat, and Priyavrat also was a first-class devotee who took the instructions fully to his heart, but still he was engaged in ruling the kingdom. So that is what Parikshit is confused. How is it that a devotee with no attachment for material enjoyment could later become attached to it? That was the astonishment. And he inquired about it from Shukadev Goswami. And then Shukadev Goswami in reply says that devotional service, being transcendental, cannot be deviated by any material influences. So, so many shlokas we see how that devotional service is always never lost. Like Neha Bikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayar. This is one shloka. Then even in the 9th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krsna says that famous shloka, Apichet Suduracharo Bhajate Ma Mananya Bhak Sadurevasya Mantavya Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. Even if somebody does something grossly sinful, but he is continuously chanting and repenting for his mistakes, for getting deviated from the path of bhakti, The whole world may ridicule him as a pseudo devotee, but the Lord says he is sadhu, he is a saintly person. And why? Because the Lord says, because he's bhajate mam ananya bhak, he's still continuing his bhakti without breaking, and he's constantly repenting. And for such a devotee, what does the Lord do? The Lord says in the next sloka, Shipram bhavati dharmatma, shashvat shantim nigachati, kaunteya pratijanihi, name bhakta pranashyati. For such a person, Shipram bhavati dharmatma, I quickly make him again walk on the path of righteousness and attain eternal peace. Shashvat shantim nigachati. And then Krishna is telling, Arjuna, you declare to the world, because if I tell, my devotee will not perish. Some people may say, oh, this Krishna makes so many promises, but he never lives up to even one promise. He promised the gopis, but did not fulfill that promise. He promised that he will not lift the weapon. He never did that. He promised he will not steal butter, but he did this. So nobody takes Krishna's promise seriously, like that. Krishna had a doubt. Therefore, he thought, Arjuna, you declare, because when my devotee promises, even at the cost of risking my own prestige, in order to keep up the promise of my devotee, I'm ready to do anything like that. So that is Lord's guarantee. Even in the Bhagavatam first canto, there is a shloka which says, Tyaktva Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harer, like that. Bhajan Apakvo, like that. So it says that one who has Tyaktva Swadharmam, he has given up his dharma, his occupational duty. For what? For serving Krishna. Let us say somebody like Srila Prabhupada made some people take sannyas very quickly. So some of them ridicule Prabhupada. Why, Prabhupada, you gave sannyas so prematurely? Many of them fell away from the sannyas order later on. But the Bhagavatam says, somebody who gives up his dharma in order to serve Lord, Tyaktva Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Hare. But somehow, because his bhajan is apakwa, pakwa means it is fully pakka or fully ripened. But because his devotion and his bhajan is not fully ripened, sometimes the previous material hankerings may make him go back to the materialistic way of life. But there is no loss. Why? Because the taste that he has got by rendering service to Lord is constantly there in his heart. And at an opportune moment, when the Lord sees all his desires are purified, he will again reinstate him back in his devotional, in his full-fledged devotional service. So that is what we saw. For a time being, there may be a temporary setback due to one's material conditionings or due to one's own limitation. But Lord personally, because he has rendered unconditionally service to Lord takes responsibility to bring that person back to the lotus feet of Krishna. So, so this is the main theme here. And then in this chapter, Prabhupada is also saying that Priyavrat received transcendental instruction from Narada, and he did not want to enter materialistic enjoyment life, but on the request of a superior like Swayambhu Manu and Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, he accepted this position. And Prabhupada is now saying that we are actually puppets in the hand of Supreme Lord. Everyone must work according to the control of the Supreme Lord. We may have some plans, but we don't know what is Lord's plan. Just like a bull is tied by a rope on its nose. So all conditioned souls, we are forced to work under the spells of the material modes of nature. And Prabhupada is saying here how a civilized man means he works according to his varna and ashram. And even in materialistic life, no one is free to act. Everyone has a certain type of body, and in that body, certain happiness and distress is given. So we'll have to accept that position. If one artificially tries to escape from that position and simply goes to forest or etc., although he's currently not entitled to, then he eventually becomes attached to materialistic life. And therefore, Prabhupada is also saying that for people who have not got that maturity in devotional service, then family life is actually compared to be a fortress for practicing sense control. And when the senses are controlled, this is such a hope-giving statement. When senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in the forest. There is no difference. As spoken by all our acharyas, Grihe Tako, Vane Tako, Sada Hari, Bole Tako. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is also saying the same, who is a Grihastha. Narottam Das Thakur, Naistika Brahmachari, is also saying the same thing. So when senses are controlled, there is no difference between a householder and this. So then I think we'll go to the shloka here. We'll read this last para and then go to the shloka. When Maharaj Priyavrat, following the instruction of Lord Brahma, accepted the royal throne, his father Manu left home for the forest. And Maharaj Priyavrat then married Parishmati, the daughter of Vishwakarma. And in her womb, he begot 10 sons: Agnidara, Idma Jiva, Yagnabahu, Mahavira, Hiranyareta, Gritaprishta, Savana, Medatiti, Vitihotra, Kavi. And he got one daughter whose name was Urjashwati. And he lived with his wife and family for many years. The impressions from the rims of the Maharaj Priyavrat's chariot wheels created 7 oceans and 7 islands. And out of the 10 sons, 3 sons, Kavi, Mahavira, and Shavana, they accepted sannyas. And the remaining 7 were given one island for them to rule. And Maharaj Priyavrat also had a second wife, in whom he begot 3 children, Uttama, Raivata, and Tamasa. And all of them later on were elevated to the post of Manu. So then finally, Shukdev Goswami also in this chapter describes how Maharaj Priyavrat ultimately achieved liberation. So we shall go to the first sloka. Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question. Rajo Vacha Priyavrato Bhagavata Atma Ramah Katam Mune Grihe Ramata Yanmulaha Karma Bandha Parabhavaha Priyavrato Bhagavata Atma Rama Katam Mune Grihe Ramata Yanmula Karma Bandha Parabhavaha. Raja Vacha Priyavrato Bhagavata Atma Rama Katam Mune Grihe Ramata Yanmulaha Karma Bandha Parabhavaha. So, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. King Priyavrat inquired from Shukadev Goswami, O great sage, why did King Parikshit inquired, why, O great sage, why did King Priyavrat, who was a great self-realized devotee of Lord, remain in household life, which is the root cause of the bondage of karma or fruitive activities, and which defeats the mission of human life? Purport. In the 4th canto, Srila Shukadev Goswami explains that Narada Muni perfectly instructed Priyavrat about the mission of human life. And what is the mission? Going back home, back to Godhead. The mission of human life is to realize oneself as an eternal servant of Krishna and then gradually go back home, back to Godhead. Since Narada Muni instructed the king fully on this subject, why did he again enter household life, which is the main cause of material bondage? Maharaj Parikshit was greatly astonished that King Priyavrat remained in household life for 2 reasons. Because he was not only a self-realized soul, but also a first-class devotee of the Lord. So a self-realized soul sometimes the path of Jnana Marg may eventually get frustrated for lack of enjoyment or lack of engagement and then take up to some materialistic activity. But a first class devotee means he's already engaged in rendering service. He's getting that reciprocation from Lord. He's very much satisfied. Then why should he again go back trying to get some mundane relationship? That is what is Parikshit Maharaj's doubt. A devotee actually has no attraction for household life. But surprisingly, King Priyavrat enjoyed household life very much. Other question he's asking is, after hearing so much about household life, and a devotee of Priyavrat's stature, how could he again enjoy? Once we have sufficient knowledge, how is enjoyment possible in household life like that? So now for this, a materialist may argue, one may argue, why is it wrong to enjoy household life? The reply is that in household life, one becomes bound by the fruitive results of fruitive activities. The essence of household life is sense enjoyment. And as long as one engrosses his mind in working hard for sense enjoyment, he becomes bound by the reactions of fruitive activities. And this ignorance of self-realization is the greatest defeat in human life. Human life is especially meant for getting out of the bondage of fruitive activities. But as long as one is forgetful of his life's mission and acts like an ordinary animal in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he must continue his conditioned life of material existence. Such a life is called Swarupa Vismriti, forgetfulness of one's constitutional position. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, one is trained in the very beginning of life as a brahmachari. A brahmachari must execute austerities and refrain from sex indulgence. Therefore, if one is completely trained on the principles of brahmacharya, he generally does not enter household life. He is then called a Naishtika brahmachari, which indicates total celibacy. King Parikshit was thus astonished that King Priyavrat, although trained in the principles of Naishtika brahmacharya, later on entered household life. The words Bhagavata Atmaraha, Atmaramaha is also very significant in this verse. If one is self-satisfied, as is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is called Bhagavata Atmaramaha. There are 4 types of satisfaction. The karmis are satisfied by their fruitive activities. The jnanis are satisfied to merge into the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Devotees are satisfied to engage in Lord's service. The Lord is satisfied because he is fully opulent, and one who is satisfied by serving him is called Bhagavata Atma Ramaha. Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Out of thousands of persons, one may endeavor for liberation, and of many thousands of persons attempting to be liberated, one may achieve liberation from the anxieties of the material existence and become self-satisfied. Even that satisfaction, however, is not the ultimate satisfaction. The jnanis and the karmis have their desires, as do the yogis, but devotees have no desires. So Prabhupada is quoting that famous shloka here. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakalahe ashant ataye Krishna bhakta nishkama atayeva shant. So the bhukti kami, the bhukti, mukti and siddhi kami, that means the jnani, the yogi and the materialist karmi, they are all sakalahe ashant. Why they are ashant? Because they have so many desires to be fulfilled. A jnani has desire to be free from suffering, and a yogi has desire to control matter and manipulate matter, and karmi has desire to extract enjoyment from matter, like that. And when matter does not cooperate and give enjoyment, then they become unsatisfied. So satisfaction in the service of Lord is called akama, freedom from desire. And this is the ultimate satisfaction. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit inquired, how could one who was fully satisfied on the highest platform later on be satisfied with family life? The word parabhavaha in this verse is significant. When one is satisfied in family life, he is doomed because he must already have forgotten his relationship with Lord. Prahlad Maharaj describes how the activities of family life implicate one more and more. Ritvatma patam grihamanda kupam. Household life is like a deep dark well. If one falls into this well, his spiritual death is assured. How Parikshit Maharaj remained a liberated Paramahamsa even within family life is described in text 23 of this chapter. So here mainly Prabhupada is giving us the warning of what is wrong to enjoy family household life. The wrong thing is one becomes bound up by the results of those fruitive activities. Although Prabhupada is giving us the hope, here Prabhupada is also giving us the warning. And that is the difference between a Grahastha and Grihamedi. Grihamedi means one whose Meda or intelligence is always centered around Graha, how to maintain and keep each one happy so that in turn they can make me happy. So it is either selfish enjoyment or extended enjoyment. If one is always thinking of that, he is called Grihamedi. And a Grahastha means who keeps Krishna in the center. And then Prabhupada is also saying how it is so rare for a person to actually come to the stage of Bhagavata Atma Ramaha. Because Manushyanam Sahasreshu, out of thousands of people, only one person becomes interested in attaining perfection. And out of thousands of such interested people also, one may become a jnani, one may become a yogi, etc. For one to become a bhakta and actually relish devotional service, it is very, very rare like that. So, in the last sloka also, Prabhupada is speaking about how if one is satisfied in his family life, he is doomed because he has forgotten his relationship with Lord. And this material realistic family life is like deep dark well. So I heard two lectures, one of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj on the same shloka, and another on from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I shall try to share whatever I heard and as per my understanding. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in his lecture was mentioning for a gross materialist, Maya comes in the form of illusion. That means, like for Ajamila, came in the form of a prostitute, like that. But for devotee, Maya may come in more subtler form. And what is one of the subtler form of Maya? It was the subtler form of Maya is that Maya convinces us the means and the end. I mean, the Maya convinces us that the end result of practicing bhakti is actually only one. What is the end result? Samsiddhir haritoshanam. Dharma svanushtita pumsan. What is that? Atapumbir dvijashreshtas varnashrama vibhagasha svanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshana. So any varna ashrama, they are means to please the Lord, but they are not the end to please the Lord. But Maya may force us to and convince us, saying that the final result of bhakti is the ashram or the varna that we choose. They are just the means. So somebody may become a grahastha and may become proud, thinking, oh, I am the one who is maintaining all the three orders. Or somebody who's a brahmachari may also become or a sannyasi may become proud. See, I have renounced everything. These materialists, grahasthas are always absorbed in enjoying matter, like that. So neither brahmacharya nor grahastha nor vanaprastha or sannyas, they are the end result, end goal of bhakti. The goal of bhakti is pleasing Krishna. But these all are means. And how to accept a suitable ashram based on one's psychophysical nature. For somebody like Radhanath Maharaj was mentioning in the lecture, for somebody who is very happy doing devotional service and uh, engaging 24/7 in all services of Krishna, Lord and devotees, and is already emotionally very satisfied, and there is no emotional or physical needs beyond just accepting prasad, then he or she can, he can happily go on in the brahmacharya or eventually sannyas life. But if somebody is always feeling lonely and is always seeking more emotional support, etc., for such a person, then it may not be the right means to attain the goal of bhakti. So, in that sense, although in the Vedic culture it is said that the highest order of spiritual life is the renounced order, the sannyas, and anybody in that is considered to be most advanced. But if one artificially tries to prematurely take up that position, and why does this tendency occur within a living entity to prematurely accept a high renounced order? Because there is so much craving for prestige. We want to give up the gross sex in order to attain subtle sex of puja, labh, pratishta, etc. So if one prematurely tries to give it up and is not satisfied, then uh, uh, that is a trick of Maya, because Maya is convincing that the goal is accepting sannyas. The goal of bhakti is not sannyas, not grahasthashram, not brahmacharya or vanaprastha. It is to please Krishna. So that way, even Krishna tells in the third chapter that one who externally pretends to give up the objects, but internally the mind is dwelling on those objects, and he shows off his renunciation, he's a mithyachara or he's a pretender, like that. So, so one thing is, our ashram is to be decided based on our psychophysical nature, our wants, and what would keep us strong. Like Radhanath Maharaj was explaining how in the pastime of Gajendra, Prabhupada writes in the purport also that the elephant is stronger on the land and a crocodile is stronger in water. But now, why was Gajendra suffering? Because he was in a position where he was not very strong. He was fighting with the crocodile in water, and therefore he became weak. Same way, when one tries to be in an ashram where he is not playing to his strengths, then he may always be hankering, he may always be fearful, like somebody who's very much worried about parents or worried about one's own health. Eventually, as one body becomes old, they may start feeling insecure if they prematurely, without that realization, take up to renounced order. And then later on in the 40s and 50s, they start thinking, who is going to maintain me if some health disorder happens, that way. So Radhesham Prabhu was also mentioning once, one characteristic of a sannyasi or brahmachari is, tomorrow, even if the ISKCON temples all close, there is no provision even to get prasadam for a brahmachari or sannyasi 3 times. He or he should never even have iota of anxiety. He should just be ready to do madhukari and just be absorbed whole day serving Krishna, like that. So, so that is one reason how one accepts an ashram. And the second is also, what would be best for the service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radhanath Maharaj and Chaitanya Charan Prabhu both gave this wonderful example. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a very ideal Grahastha life. He had a most loving mother. He had a most chaste and beautiful wife. But for Mahaprabhu, in order to render more devotional service to Krishna, in terms of preaching, to deliver more conditioned souls, Mahaprabhu felt taking up sannyas was better for me. And therefore, Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas, although his family life was very ideal. And on the other hand, Nityanand Prabhu, he was a Avaduta, brahmachari, and a renunciate. But Mahaprabhu requested Nityananda Prabhu, I have taken sannyas and I see that I am unable to access many downtrodden people who are in very filthy places, because sannyas has few restrictions. So I would want you to accept the Grahastha ashram so that you could go and preach to people where I may not be able to go and preach. So we see that one was a brahmachari. He was eventually asked to go into Grahastha ashram because that could be more beneficial for serving Krishna, like that. Same way here in the case of Priyavrat, the two reasons why Priyavrat was asked to accept the household life. One is service demanded that, because there was nobody else to rule. And also Lord, knowing what is best for every living entity, understanding the psychophysical nature, wanted Priyavrat to go through this whole process, and so that he can come out with greater realization. So we also see in the Mahajans, there are Grahasthas, there are Sannyasis, and both are equally glorious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he wanted to go for South Indian Yatra, he takes the permission of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, and in the Madhya Leela, Prabhupada writes that although Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi and Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was a Grihastha, because of the devotion, Mahaprabhu considered Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya very senior. We see many pastimes like that. Ambrish Maharaj was a Grihastha and Durvasa was a sannyasi. But Ambrish was on a higher platform of devotion, and therefore Sudarshan personally came to protect Ambrish. So our the take home for all of us is that whatever our current situation is orchestrated by Krishna, and in this connection, in this ashram or in this setup, we should see how we could best increase our service to Krishna, and understanding the dangers of the Grahastha ashram. One should be careful not to get entangled more and more into family life, because then to get out of such attachments would be very difficult. And how to remain free from these attachments? By regularly inviting sadhus, like what Nanda Maharaj exemplifies in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Garga Muni comes, Radhanath Maharaj was saying, Nanda Maharaj was an eternal Grahastha, because always he comes as the father of Krishna. And Krishna also never grows old. So that means Nanda Maharaj is always young, Yashoda Mai is always young, Krishna is young. So at least with if somebody becomes old, the bodily beauty will go away, and they get frustrated because body also becomes weak. And eventually one may be forced to go into renunciation. So in this world, many people go to renunciation due to frustrated material enjoyment. But Nanda Maharaj, he had all the things in a very favorable manner. Same with Raghunath Das Goswami. He had a huge wealth. He had a beautiful wife. It is not that he was trying to renounce everything because he was frustrated or because he was a failure. Everything was good, but his heart was so attached to Krishna that he wanted to increase his quantum of service to Krishna. So that should be the mood of a Grihastha devotee. And Nanda Maharaj tells that when Garga Muni comes, uh, uh, how can one get rid of this bondage? By frequently inviting sadhus to their home, so that we hear from them, we see their example, we see due to their renunciation how they are able to serve Krishna nicely, and taking their inspiration, we also reduce slowly our material cravings or wants, and uh, and together as a family put Krishna in the center and increase one's service. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was also saying that anything in this world is like a double-edged sword. Family, finance, health, all of them are a means for a person to render more service to Krishna, or it could also act as a distraction, like for somebody who needs emotional support. In the Grahasthashram, all facility is there for them to jointly progress and practice Krishna consciousness and render service to the lordships together, like how Amrish Maharaj and his wife would render devotional service like that. But at the same time, if one is not careful, one could become distracted by any of them, health, finance, or family, any of these. And another point Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was saying in the lecture was, sometimes, in spite of all our best arrangements and attempts, Krishna may sometimes see that Krishna may take away our health, Krishna may take away our finance, etc. So at that time, rather than a devotee complaining, why is this happening to me? Rather than that, we should see Krishna is asking, what is more important for you? Sometimes the health may be good and devotee may be doing nice sadhana. Suddenly, health may go down. So that time, rather than complaining, Krishna, why are you so hard-hearted? I was rendering so much service. But Krishna may see, now this person is more attached to his health, but not attached to serving Krishna. So in that sense, Krishna may sometimes take away for a moment or for a prolonged period, or never want to give it, if he sees that this may become a distraction for us. So Krishna is now asking, what do you want? Do you want good health, or do you want remembrance of me? So Krishna wants us to go to the next level of whether good times, bad time, any time one remembers Krishna. Same way, when finance is good, it is certainly very, very favorable to serve Krishna. But sometimes one may become complacent, one may become absorbed in sense gratification. So that time Krishna may forcibly take away those things for the devotee to get awakened and understand that although it appeared like I am taking shelter of Krishna, but actually I was taking shelter of my bank balance. So one senior brahmachari was also telling me personally, many a times we have these things. I will earn so much, and once I earn so much, then with all this bank balance, I can retire and then full-fledged serve Krishna. So when I was mentioning this thought, then that brahmachari told, actually, you have misunderstood bhakti. Why? Because what is Nishkama Karma Yoga? Nishkama Karma Yoga means you work, but without any expectation of result. Now you are telling, I want to retire within this short span of time. That means when you are working, you're constantly thinking about result. I want to earn so much very quickly. I want to earn so much very quickly. So you are not practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. And in Grahasthashram, when we do not perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, it will never give us knowledge and realization. It will only make us more and more bound. So then Brahmachari went on to explain, even if, let us say, you get all that money, what you are hankering for, because you never practice Niskama Karma Yoga, you will not have the knowledge and realization to now surrender to Krishna. And your whole platform is so shaky. You are telling, I have dependence on Krishna, but actually your dependence is not on Krishna. Your dependence is on the bank balance, because you felt that once I have this bank balance, then I can serve Krishna. And why do you do that? Because you feel, as per your material calculation, this much bank balance is enough for you to progress in your life. But what if Krishna gives you a problem, to solve that problem you need to shell out more than what your bank balance is? You will again give up faith in Krishna. So rather than prematurely trying to this one, it is okay even if you want to work till 50-60, but gradually increase your devotion to Krishna, increase your service to Krishna. And as per the Bhagavatam shloka, kamasya na indriya pritir labo jiveta yada. Whatever comes with minimum endeavor, be satisfied with that if it is enough to maintain your body. And that is a process of Nishkama Karma Yoga, like that. So in our Grahasthashram, this can also be a pitfall where we say, I want to earn quickly so that I can retire. But in the process of trying to earn quickly, one is always thinking about, even while working, one is never practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. One is constantly thinking about result, money, and then it will never give knowledge and realization. So then the attachment continues to remain. So how much ever money is there, either it is not enough for us, or we say we depend on the bank balance, but not on Krishna. So these are all few pitfalls of Grahasthashram. So our main focus should be that how to increase our attachment to Krishna, our service to Krishna gradually, and be satisfied with whatever comes on its own accord with minimum endeavor. So these things I'm speaking to myself. I request the blessings of all the Vaishnavas so that I will also be able to follow whatever I heard from them and as per my understanding. Please forgive me if I spoke something beyond my realization. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Haridev Krishna Prabhu. It was a wonderful class, and I mean, the start itself, you had summarized the fifth canto so that everyone knows what to expect, what's coming up next. And this particular section, very amazingly, you brought out wonderful points, Prabhuji. Especially the point where how we have to understand being a grihastha, what should be our endeavor, what should be our actual endeavor. And this last point struck up very nicely, where we have to practice Nishkama Karma Yoga, which has a deeper meaning and deeper understanding as grihasthas that we have to do, Prabhuji. So yeah, thank you. Many points you had, Prabhuji, which the goal of bhakti. You mentioned the goal of bhakti is pleasing Krishna. Rest all are means. The understanding is the varna ashrama are not the means, but rather our goal should be the not varna ashrama, but rather pleasing Krishna is the goal, which sometimes becomes flipped up, right? So thank you so much. I would request, I'll just open up the line. So I request devotees to post questions, comments, or the reflections. Just give me a second. Hare Krishna. Devotees, the lines are open. You can pose your questions or reflections. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Wonderful class in the morning. Prabhu, the question of Parikshit Maharaj, that is why he gets attached once again and then later gets detached. That answer will come later, or it's way I missed it. Prabhu, you're muted. Prabhu, you're muted. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. Sorry, I did not realize. The reason why he accepted that is because Swayambhu Manu had requested him. And Swayambhu Manu being the father, Priyavrata actually did not want to say no. But at the same time, he wanted to continue on his renounced order. So he did not say yes or no. By keeping quiet, he politely said no. But later, Brahma also comes, and Brahma and Swayambhu Manu together request Priyavrat, and Narada, on the other hand, was preaching about the principles of renunciation. But when a higher authority like Brahma came, Narada also conceded and blessed Priyavrat that you enter into the Grihasthashram. So mainly two reasons why he entered. One is because there was a need, somebody has to rule the kingdom. And second is because Lord knows what is best for a living entity. So seeing the psychophysical nature, probably Lord understood that this is something that will give him greater realization about the material world, and therefore also arrange this entire scene so that eventually he goes into the family life and comes out with greater realizations and detachment.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavad.
Thank you, Mother. Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat
Hare
pranams.
Krishna,
Thank
Mataji.
you so much for the excellent class, Prabhu. Prabhu, one thing I did not understand, when Lord Krishna takes away our health, so what we can do, Prabhu? According, due to decreased energy levels, our sadhana also goes down. So what do we have to do, Prabhu?
Of course, when the whole idea is that Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in that thing was mentioning, when something goes beyond, I mean, not as per our liking, devotee's mood should never be in the mood of Krishna, why are you doing this to me? I rendered so much service to you, and with all that service that I did, you have reciprocated by taking away my health. Are you so stone-hearted like that? One should not wrongly think of Krishna as though he's stone-hearted. Rather, one should understand probably Krishna wants, Krishna is seeing sometimes what may happen is we may become so health conscious that we may not be Krishna conscious. So therefore Krishna, in order to remove that little bit of attachment, may sometimes take away and say that, what do you want? Do you want me or do you want good health? And Krishna wants us to decide whether we want a good health or Krishna, like that. At that time, how we react, what actions we take, depends on what values we have in our life. Like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was mentioning that point. And we saw in the example of very elevated devotees like Kadamba Kanan Swami Maharaj, etc. That way. Both ways. You will see in Bhakti, it's within ISKCON itself, both are elevated sannyasis. You will see both of them behaving completely different, but both of them are always thinking of what could best serve the community, like that. Kadamba Kanan Swami Maharaj was undergoing cancer, but Maharaj thought that anyway, this body is going to grow old and it is going to leave, it's going to eventually deteriorate, die. Why should I, now I'm in such a fortunate position, being in Vrindavan, I can absorb myself, I can serve the devotees in Vrindavan, and in that way, leave this body rather than unnecessarily complicating by going to so many hospitals, so many treatments, and so much of money will be spent. Eventually, body is now old, and anyway, it is going to go away. Like that. That was the mood of Kadamba Kanan Swami Maharaj. And what is the underlying thing? Whatever was best for one to remember Krishna. And His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, whenever there is a health disorder, Maharaj tries to take all the medical treatment. Why? Again, for the same thing, for pleasing Krishna and for Prabhupada. Why? Because Maharaj wants to be there till the TOVP is open. So Maharaj is taking all these difficulty, leaving the holy Mayapur Dham and coming to different places. Why? So that the service to Prabhupada can be complete, and also his service of preaching. This body is like a vehicle, like that, so by which one can serve. So again, Krishna being in the heart of every living entity, to the degree they are sincere, Krishna will also reveal to that living entity what is best at this situation for that person. And in our stage, we could always take guidance. And sometimes, if we feel this decision that I'm taken is right or wrong, Krishna will show it also through the consequences. And when we see, no, these consequences are not what I intended it to be, then at least we could be more open for introspection and for feedback from other senior Vaishnavas to see whether I have taken the right decision or not. Did it answer, Mataji, to some extent?
Yes, Prabhu. To some extent, it has answered. Thank you so much.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur always says that whenever materially and spiritually there is an imbalance, generally in this world, people tend to set the material things first, right? And then they think, once all this is set right, then I will focus on spirituality. But the right move should be, let me first set the spiritual thing, because material world means there will never be a place where everything is perfect. Today, health may be a problem. Now, once I set right health, finance may be problem. Once finance is set right, family may be problem. So like that, one after another, problems keep coming. So rather than trying to set that right, in the given situation, now how best I can serve Krishna. Not that we don't take any treatment, we don't take any this one, but not that one goes out of the way and goes on spending money and time and energy for so much treatment that the goal of Krishna consciousness itself is lost.
Yes, Prabhu. What I understood is, to the extent possible, we have to serve the Lord sincerely. No, Prabhu?
Yes. True, Mataji. Our bodily limitation, like one example I heard from Radhesham Prabhu, one cook devotee, I think, in Vrindavan, Prabhupada personally appointed him. He would cook almost what 5-10 people would cook all by himself, it seems. So much he had a desire to serve Krishna. But when his body became old, he could not do that. But then because as per his bodily limitation, he would just give Charanamrit to all the devotees. And in that way, he was serving Krishna. So as our health goes down, that same service that we were previously doing, we may not. But the beauty is in bhakti, and the opportunities are endless. And even if nothing, within the mind, one can still render devotional service, like what Uddhava was doing when he was old. Just by thinking of the Leela of Krishna, thinking of his pastimes, he was still rendering service. In teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada in one place in the lecture says, for a neophyte, active service is beneficial. For a very advanced soul, the meditation that he does is itself active service, because for him, bodily limitation may not help him to do active service, but simply by meditating, remembering. And when we meditate, remember, naturally we will want to share with others, so others are also getting benefited. So preaching is also happening. So that is also a devotional service.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Prabhu, it was a very nice, nectarian, nourishing lecture, Prabhu. I want some references, Prabhu, if I'm not troubling, Prabhu. Prabhu, if it is difficult to give the details, I will get the details from you in person, Prabhu. The references required are Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami. These
Sakala hai Ashant.
Yes, Prabhu.
I'll try to search and get that, Prabhuji. This one for you, Bhukti Mukti. It comes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually. Verse number, I just it comes in this one, Madhya Leela, 19th chapter. This one, I'll share that also. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashantam. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I think Prabhuji. Have we exceeded
I
time?
think Prabhuji dropped off. Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. So any other questions from any devotees? I don't think so. Yeah. Balaji going, Prabhu? Okay, I think yes. Yeah. Fine, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. We will end with the Vaishnava pranams.
Kalpataruvishya Kripa Sindhubhyo cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you all devotees for attending the
Hare
morning
Krishna.
classes. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Hare Krishna. I'll end this session now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Balaji Gun Prabhu, Prabhu gave the reference to the shloka that you wanted, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, can you kindly give the phone number, Prabhu? I have got 3 more
I will.
references to ask, Prabhu.
I'll call you, Prabhuji. I'll call you
Okay,
separately.
Prabhu. Or you can
I'll message
me.
Prabhu's number.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare
It
Krishna.
was a